Welcome to the NCFCA Online Summit. My name is Amy Joy Tofty, and I serve as the Director of Education for NCFCA Christian Speech and Debate. Since 2001, NCFCA has equipped and challenged Christian students to communicate truth with integrity and grace. To learn more about our training and competition opportunities, visit ncfca.org. We look forward to connecting with you today, so please feel free to use the chat box to ask your questions, and then later on in the session, join the conversation. We invite you to turn on your cameras and microphones so we can get to know you. Through our online summit, we have shared so many ideas, things that are important for Christian students today. In session 1, Find Your Why, we discuss the importance of discovering your identity in Christ and then finding your voice and your mission. In session 2, From Root to Fruit, we talked about the importance of knowing God's word, but then also being able to apply it to the real and relevant issues of our day. In session 3, Prepare to Speak, we talked about the importance of developing communication skills so that we can speak winsomely and confidently as God gives us opportunity. In session 4, That's Debatable, we talked about the importance of wrestling with both sides of an issue, engaging others in respectful dialogue as a means for discovering truth. In session 5, The Competitive Edge, we talked about the importance of honing our skills in a supportive community. And that brings us to session 6, The Adventure Begins. In our final session together, we'll share how NCFCA Christian Speech and Debate is creating a community where your family can grow in grace and communicate with confidence. We hope that you will join the NCFCA adventure. Our guest speakers this afternoon are Mrs. Melinda Spees and Mrs. Carly Houchin. Mrs. Spees is a Region 7 treasurer, judge coordinator, club leader, and coach who also serves on the NCFCA Education Task Force. She and her husband, Lincoln, have 4 children and serve as foster parents. In addition to serving her family and the league, she works as a freelance writer and editor. Mrs. Carly Houchin served as our Region 6 director, a local debate coach, as well as serving on the NCFCA Education Task Force. She and her husband, Brian, have 4 children, 1 grandchild and another one on the way, and 3 dogs, 4 cats, and 20 alpacas. Carly enjoys reading and encouraging new parents and educators that they can do this with God's help. Ladies, thank you so much for being here this afternoon.
You're welcome.
So glad to be here.
How are you doing? Doing great. Okay. If you would, in the chat box, I would love to hear what first got you interested in NCFCA and what are you hoping to gain out of being here today? So type that in the chat box. I will make sure to look at that. And let's start out with you, Carly. I'm going to check your sound there. Turn your microphone on and let's see if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? No.
Okay, so we are experiencing some technical difficulties. We'll give Carly a chance to work on that. Just so you all know, we are under massive flooding in central Illinois. Carly lives just a few miles away from me, and our husbands are currently trying to help another NCFCA family who is currently flooded. So we are all struggling with technical difficulties. So thank you for your patience there. Carly, I'll check back with you in just a little bit. So Melinda, talk to me about how you first heard about NCFCA and what compelled you to get involved.
Okay, so I mentioned in the last session that I was a high school English teacher before I was married and before I had children. And so I knew a lot about our forensics team and how much time and effort it took. And, you know, the kids would perform each year what they were doing. So I already knew that it was something that I liked and I could see the benefits of. And then I live out in the country, and in our whole county at the time, there was one other homeschool family, a few years older. Their kids are a few years older than mine. And she said, we are in a speech and debate club 45 minutes away. And I said, I'm coming. So I was already sold on the idea. I just didn't know it existed for homeschoolers. So the first I found out, and I was emailing the lady, you know, within 10 minutes to tell her I was in.
That's fantastic. So my story is just a little bit different. We were part of a homeschool organization, and so our kids were practicing some communication skills, learning rhetoric, learning logic, and practicing persuasive writing. We had a local club not too far from us, and there was an older competitor who said to my son, "Hey, I think you might be good at this. You should come and check it out." And so we went to a camp. That was our first experience. And my son just fell in love with it. And so here we are 7 years later, still trucking along. So I would love to hear just a little bit about the mission. Tell our audience about the mission of NCFCA and how speech and debate fits into that. How do we fulfill our mission?
Okay, so our mission is we want to challenge and equip ambassadors for Christ to communicate truth with integrity and grace. So we are looking to biblical principles. We are looking to Christ to help raise our children, to challenge and equip them both now and of course going forward. And the thing we want is then to communicate truth with integrity and grace. So all that we do, all of our preparation, all of our presentation, that is the end goal. So as we walk through the fall with training and writing and researching and practicing, as we come to competition season, we are always thinking about, at the bottom of it, we want to be communicating truth with integrity and grace. So at each session, that's at the bottom, the top, all the sides of what we're doing.
Fantastic. And why is that mission important to your family?
Well, let's see. We are believers and we love the Lord, and we're always looking to scripture to find our answers. We're not perfect, but that's what we're trying to do. So as we're homeschooling the kids and we're looking for support in raising them from outside, we want an organization that is putting that first and is like-minded with us. And we're not all cookie cutter, of course, in NCFCA, but if that's the focus of what we're doing, if that's the lens, then as a family, we know that this organization is going to support what we're doing. We're not going to be fighting against the organization. And so it's been important to us in a lot of different ways, but primarily we agree with the mission. And so we wholeheartedly can jump into what NCFCA is doing on all the different levels.
I love the idea that when we are gifted with children, they don't come with a little tag that says this one's going to grow up to be X, Y, or Z. What we get is this bundle of joy, and we are as parents somehow supposed to help them to discover who they are and what their special giftings and passions are. So one thing that we know about all kids, all young people, is that they do have a call and a purpose on their life, and wherever God puts them, they're going to need to have this ability to communicate. So let's talk a little bit about the NCFCA calendar year. And we know that our year really begins in July. So from July to December, what are we focusing on?
So July to December, we're focusing on training, education, our new students, introducing them to the basics of communication, of physical and vocal delivery, and also to our events, our new debate resolutions. And then all fall, we're preparing speeches. We're starting with our rough drafts, our ideas, and then we're moving towards our finished products, hopefully by the end of December, so that we're ready for competition season, which starts right when the new year begins.
Yes. So typically we have a tournament that first week in January, and our competition season runs from January until June. So Carly, as you think back over your years in NCFCA, what are some of the resources and training opportunities that have helped you and your students to gain confidence in communication? I can't hear you. I'm so
Poor
sorry.
Carly has so much wisdom.
Yes, she does. So sorry, Carly. All right, Melinda, I'm going to pivot back to you. So what are some of the resources and training opportunities that have helped your family?
Okay. Well, we definitely, the printed curriculum. NCFCA has some excellent printed materials, guides that break down both speech and debate. And so we've used those. We've also participated in the summit and in the intensive, which are more specific related to the different speech events, to the new debate resolutions. We've used those. There's also webinars throughout the fall that get very specific, maybe with the resolutions again, or maybe with the new events, or with some particular skills. And so we definitely have used those. And we're part of a local club. And so we get the teaching and the training that comes through that as well.
That's great. I know last year we introduced something new to kind of jumpstart in the summer. So we're going to finish up our competition season today. For those of you who are new to us, I do want to invite you back to live stream our awards ceremony at 3:30. And then also you're in for a special treat. Later tonight, we have our Showcase of Excellence. And so you will be able to see the top speeches in every event live streamed right from the NCFCA's webpage. So go to ncfca.org/nationals. And as we get closer to that time, you'll see a link right on that page. That said, starting on Monday, we actually start next year. And so we're excited for that. Our intensives come at the end of July and the beginning of August. And those are 1, 2, or 3-day events. Melinda, you are working as the team lead for a couple of those. So tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
That's right. So the intensives, like I said, they break down into the speech categories. So we have an APOL, apologetics intensive, an extemporaneous. We have one for platform, and we have for interpretation, as well as for team policy and for value. So you can see they're sort of broken down, and you can create your own. But we have energetic alumni coaches who are going to take the students through, for example, APOL is a 1-day event. So there's 4 sessions, and they basically take them through the whole process, for starting with a sample apologetic speech all the way through preparing their own and launching them into the competition season. Similarly for the platform, it's a 2-day, just like interpretation. It's an 8-session event, starting with a sample speech and taking the students all the way through till they'll have something to present at the end of the event. And we're encouraging people to use these as a family, as a club, or maybe as a camp experience. But it's great teaching, very relevant, very practical, and interactive. And like Amy Joy said, those are coming up at the end of July through the 1st of August.
And where can folks go to register for those events?
Yes, if you go to ncfca.org/intensives, you can see all the schedules and you can design your own. You can do all of the intensives, or you can pick the ones, maybe there's a particular style of debate that's most interesting for your family, and you can put together what you need to get your year off to a great start.
Great opportunities for those of you who are in other homeschool organizations that practice debate. These are great jump starts for that, just to get your kids that basic level. But then for those of you who have advanced students, send them to, we do have activity breakout groups that are specifically designed for advanced students. So they'll move right through the basics and they'll head into the deeper waters. So I want to encourage you to check that out. There are full descriptions there. And just to let you know, we do have some fantastic early bird sessions that we're offering during our national championship. So if you register by Monday of next week, June 29th, you will receive free video recordings that you can then go back and reference throughout the year. So go check those resources out. If you have any questions, you are welcome to contact me at amyjoytofty@ncfca.org, and I'll put that in the chat box for you as well. So we talked about those guides that kind of provide that foundational skills that you need. We talked about the intensives, which then take those skills and apply them to our current resolutions. Let's talk a little bit about our stepping stones. So this is a resource that we developed last year because we recognized that folks needed something to help them walk through these resources and be able to find them. So Melinda, tell me just a little bit about the stepping stones.
So the stepping stones were really an excellent resource, especially if you were new, starting a club, a new family, and you just really wanted it to be broken down. And so they were designed for part to be used with just your family if you wanted to use it in your daily curriculum, and also parts if you were in club, whether it was a large or small club. And so they would have a focus area, maybe focus on an event, and there would be activities, questions. Again, everything we do, we're trying to be really practical so that you can walk away and feel equipped and the students can feel ready to go. So the stepping stones, they came out weekly and again, broke down different skills, different questions to ask. They had some games and activities and just a great resource that you could use at home or in club.
And again, that will help you coordinate. It'll actually point you to the places in the curriculum that are dealing with the specific skill. It'll point you to the intensive videos that might go along with that to flesh that out a little bit, and then activities. So check those out. If you are affiliated with NCFCA, those will come directly to your email. If you're not yet affiliated, we're going to talk about that in just a bit. So in addition to our education and the training that we offer to folks, we are very, very much supportive of building connections. So in our last session, as I listened to you and to Katie, both of you had this to say, that the competition's fantastic, the training is great, the relationships that my kids build are priceless. So let's talk a little bit about connection and how most people participate in the NCFCA. So Melinda, for your family, do you do this all by yourselves around your kitchen table?
We don't. We are part of a local club. We're here in Montgomery, Alabama, the Catalyst Club, and we meet each week. It's the highlight of the week for everybody. We meet at a local church, and we have part of our time is for debate, and we break into the two styles of debate, and we have a group meeting. And then afterwards, we have 2 hours of speech, and we break into the students can move among the rooms depending on what they're working on that week. So we have a really active, wonderful local club here that has been a big part of our lives. And I work as a coach. The other moms are working as a coach. The kids get great feedback, plus that social time together.
That's great. I love club. So I will tell you, I'm a collaborative learner myself. I would much prefer to work with a group of people and to wrestle through ideas. I think there is a sharpening and accountability and an inspiring. Sometimes you need that extra push. So I cannot speak highly enough for clubs. If you would like to see if there's a club near you, you can go to our website, click on the little 3 bars at the top right, and choose to if you click on the join button, it'll take you to a screen where you can scroll down and find a club near you. But if there is no club near you, I just want to encourage you that 2 families meeting together to walk through these ideas, that's a club. So if you need help getting a club started, we have a great resource that we'd love to give you for free. So please feel free to reach out to me and I will get that sent to you. Let's talk about a little bit about NCFCA clubs and some of the variety of different clubs you've seen. So you talked about your club. How often do you all meet?
We meet once a week. We meet on Friday mornings and we go through lunch. There's another club in our region and they meet on Tuesday evenings. And what they do is they do speech first, then the dads all come to dinner, and then they do debate. They found that the dads wanted to help with debate. And so they said, well, we need to do it when the dads can come. And so they have this really unique setup and they're really good with crock pot meals. They're experts. So they'll have the kids and basically the moms, and then the dads come and sort of walk them through debate. And Amy Joy, I did want to add, just while we're talking about clubs, that NCFCA in general is a family-friendly organization. Mm-hmm. So at club, there are the senior competitors. There are the juniors who often have their own club. We have a 1-hour club for the 7 to 12-year-olds. And then there's babies and toddlers everywhere. And when you come to tournament, it's the same thing. So don't feel like, what am I going to do with my large family? My 15-year-old wants to do it, but what about my 3-year-old? NCFCA, we're about families and homeschooling families in particular. We have to travel in large groups, in large vans to go places, right? And
it is rather humorous to pull into an NCFCA tournament and see van, bus,
I know
van.
Exactly. So I wanted to say that as an encouragement. And we often have junior tournaments, a little like a one day within our larger tournaments are for our 7 to 12-year-olds. You heard about Amy Joy's 6-year-old last session, 6 years old in suits. There's just nothing better than it.
Yes.
I will be your next speaker. But just to encourage you that our clubs are family friendly. And then to go back, Amy Joy, and it sounds like Carly's here. I know there's some clubs that maybe are debate only, or maybe they're team policy only. So depending on the needs of the community, some clubs are very specialized and other clubs do everything.
It is nice. We do have quite a few different opportunities for kids to practice communication skills. And I love that your family is there. I see them. So say hello to them for me.
Sorry.
When I first started in the league, I had a 12-year-old son. He's the one who catapulted us into this activity. And I had a 10, 8, 6, 4, an infant. So I fully understand what it means to start in this event. And you're exactly right. In a lot of ways, we just brought all those kids with us. They made tremendous friends that they're still friends with today in local club. And everyone was so gracious to us. So I had lots of hands there to help me out. And I want to encourage you, get involved. Carly, can you tell us just a little bit about some of your club experiences? I am so excited to hear your voice.
Can you actually hear my voice?
I can. Yay.
Oh, I'm so thankful. I switched devices. I moved to an iPad,
fantastic.
so that's great. I'm sorry, I forgot your question. I was so excited you could hear me.
That is okay. Tell me about some of the different club experiences you've had, and maybe how often they met and how they were structured.
We've had various experiences with club. We have a very small club, as you know, since you're part of it. And so it's been different things, different years. Sometimes we've had summer kind of debate/speech camps to try to drum up some more people. And those have been successful. And then other times we just have a few of us meeting. I know for us, my son was the only LDer, so we really didn't even get to participate in debate club this past year. But at various times, we've done various things where we were part of Classical Conversations for a long time. So we would meet directly after that, which made a long day even longer. But we did what we could so that we could make it work for everyone. So it is very flexible. And as you find a club near you, you can kind of get the feel for what they're doing, and hopefully they can, meet the needs that you guys have. So it's very varied is what I would say.
And just to reiterate, clubs are all locally run by parent volunteers. So there is no official NCFCA club. These are families that have bonded together to say, hey, we want to develop these skills locally, and we're all participating in the NCFCA. So with that said, you can start your own. And if you need help understanding, hey, how could I do this in my local area? Send me an email at amyjoytofty@ncfca.org. I would love to just hear about what's going on in your world and maybe point you in some different directions that would work for your family. And if you're a school administrator, I desperately want to talk to you, because this is such a great activity for your Christian students in Christian schools. And it's a rather new opportunity. For many, many years, NCFCA was primarily homeschoolers, but we have since opened to Christian schools, and I can help you understand how our curriculum and our activities can fit into your school schedule. So feel free to reach out in that way. So we've talked about education and that training, the idea of we spend half a year, 6 months working and developing these skills. And then we get connected with these local clubs where we have a chance to kind of practice on a smaller scale. And that moves us into competition season. So let's talk about competition. Carly, in session 5, we discussed how NCFCA competition is unique from other types of competition. So can you just tell us a brief overview of what a tournament looks like? Carly served as our Region 6 director. So she was in charge of organizing and planning these tournaments. Tell us a little bit what that looks like per region.
I would love to. And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about just like anything, any activity that you do, there's kind of its own language of different things. So if I said regional qualifier, you might think, well, what on earth is that?
Yes.
So just to define things just a little bit, this season, each region will have 3 regional qualifiers. So there are 11 regions across the country, and we have 3 opportunities for students to compete within that region. And those are 3-day tournaments where you go to a local, well, local is within your region, so
Yes.
however local that is, a local facility. And it's 3 very long, intense, and wonderful days where we start the first day usually around 7 in the morning, and we're ending, well, every day it starts at 7 or 7:30, and we're ending somewhere between 8, 9, 10, sometimes
Ish.
a little later than that. Ish.
We love the suffix ish.
Ish, yes. And when will we be done? Soon. Soon is a good word. So anyway, 3 opportunities for each region, each affiliate in each region to compete. And the regional qualifiers are strictly for your region, and they are an opportunity for you to qualify for the regional competition. So that's why they're called regional qualifiers. So there'll be 3 of those per region. In addition, each region will be eligible to attend a national open that will be online. So all of the 11 regions will be divided further. And so you'll have the opportunity to compete with others who are not in your region for a national open that will be open to anyone within those regions, that particular set of regions. And those will be the same format, 3-day competition, but it will be online. And then we also will have an in-person national open in North Carolina, which is exciting. And I forgot the date, so maybe you can type that into the chat, Joy, if you can find
that.
The date. And that will be in person, and that is open to anyone across the country. So that is a huge event. It's very fun. You can stay on site and meet all kinds of friends from all kinds of places. And so that's the National Open that will be in person this following year. And then following that, there will be a regional competition. So all the students who have qualified from their regional qualifiers or from the National Opens will be eligible to attend the regional competition, which is typically held at the end of April, beginning of May. And each
that's like a culminating event. They qualify and then they get to go to this regional championship.
It is. It's really exciting. And a lot of the students, that's our goal, just to make it to regionals, maybe in one speech or in debate or whatever. And it's a great goal. And so, yes, so the regional qualifiers will be held in each region. And then the last competition of the year is the one we're having right now, which is the national competition. And that will be held in June of next year. So a lot of opportunities. You can attend one, all, whatever you would like to do, depending on the margin of your family.
Yes.
So definitely you have a lot of options. I would encourage every family who affiliates to at least attend one tournament, especially if you can go in person, because those relationships are the things that make it so worthwhile, in addition to the skills and all the other benefits. But it is really a wonderful thing if you can be there in person and meet people from across the nation. It really is an amazing experience.
So we talk often about how impressive our students are, and they're in tournament attire and they deliver these amazing speeches. Do you have any funny tournament stories?
Oh boy.
Melinda has one. You want to share, Melinda?
Let me just tell you my first tournament experience. So I live in Montgomery, Alabama. It doesn't snow here. So we had an ice storm, and it was already flu season, so we were kind of being careful. I had a newborn, and we had a stomach virus. It was incredible. And so I ended up in the ER that night. Everybody was fine, but with a newborn, like, let's check on this. But it was like, from here, it's just going to be better, right?
Yes.
And we had a great time, but it was like, I think we got all the craziness just once out of the way. So now we're smooth sailing for the next 16 years is what I'm planning.
That's fantastic.
We did, the snowstorm reminded me of a time we were in Kentucky, and I'm from Illinois. I grew up in Michigan, so a little snow doesn't bother me.
Right.
But we were at this competition in Kentucky, and we did get a snowstorm, and the whole city shut down because they didn't know what to do. They don't know how to drive in it. They don't have equipment to deal with snow. So we had to delay the start of our competition from 8 in the morning to like 10 o'clock until we could get our community judges and everyone could come. So a little bit crazy. It didn't really bother us, but people from Kentucky didn't know what to do.
I remember one tournament in Ohio where we had inclement weather. And so the school required all of our competitors and community judges to go down into the tunnels underneath the school. And you could hear various hymns and songs and some people giving speeches. I mean, it was like the variety entertainment hour in the tunnels of Mount St. Joseph's University. Very shortly after we all got out of the tunnels, we had a fire alarm. So yes, we've lived through some really fun experiences together. But the beautiful part for me is that in this safe pressure cooker, these opportunities where if it can go wrong, it might. It's okay because you're surrounded by godly people. You're surrounded by people who are for you, not against you, and everyone is working together to make this a successful opportunity. I've driven to Walmart at 1 a.m. in the morning to get shoes because somebody left their black shoes at home. So, I mean, just know this is real life. These are real people. And if your kid forgets shoes, my son might have 2 pairs and they might be 3 sizes too big, but we will share and it will be great.
Or your son could forget pants like mine did.
Sometimes that does happen. Hypothetically, yeah. I have heard that. Yes.
Yeah. And like 3 people brought him black pants that day. It was great.
That's right.
We have one club and they have like a tackle box of stuff, right? Band-Aid, sewing kit, it's part of that bonding.
It is.
Telling these crazy stories, but that just makes you closer, right? When you walk through those sharing shoes and ice storms.
Yes, Natasha tells us that her favorite tournament happened in a snowstorm in North Texas, which I imagine also would kind of slow things down a little bit in Texas. Yes. Well, we love our tournaments. Let's talk a little bit about the type of feedback that our students get from tournaments. How is that different than club?
So I can start. So in club, to me, it's a little bit like your family. You really get to know the parents in your club and the students in your club, and you know their heart and you know how far they've come, where they've started. You really get to know them well, and you're trying to move them along. When you go to a tournament, the judges are half usually from the community, maybe people who know the league, maybe people who don't. We really, we have hundreds of slots to fill. We have alums, and then we also have parents who judge. So when you start getting feedback from such a wide range, part of our goal is the students could speak to all people. And they really get that at tournaments because our judge panels are such a mix. And so they may hear new comments that they haven't heard in club, something that is more effective than they thought or less effective than they thought. Or if I know the student, maybe I give this thing a pass, but someone else notices it. Or the topic, you can see how some judges connect with topics so powerfully that maybe they're even weeping or laughing or nodding in the session. And so when you move from club to a tournament, you're really taking your baby, your speech, out into a bigger world, and you're getting feedback based on the experiences of your judges.
Carly, how have you seen that play out in your children's lives, the different types of feedback that they get? Because sometimes they're really varied, the types of feedback.
Yes. So what we try to do is kind of make almost a chart of the feedback that the judges have given, especially regarding speeches, so that we can notice trends. Is this something one judge said, so maybe it's an outlier, or is this a trend that we see every judge is commenting on? If every judge is commenting on, then it's clearly something that you need to work on or something that was really effective. And so it's really helpful to get all those varied ballots, like Melinda said, from a variety of people from different walks of life and backgrounds, and just to hear what they have to say. It's really helpful to get that and to understand, again, how do I effectively communicate to every person that I encounter? So it's really beneficial to get all that feedback.
It's great. I love the fact that they're getting feedback from a wide variety of people. So I might think something is absolutely a convincing argument, or I might think that something is absolutely a compelling story. But I might be missing the fact, to some folks it might be offensive, or to some folks it might be too intense, or to some folks that humor might be, ooh, right on the line. And so over time, these young people are getting the opportunity to get lots of feedback and then make their own decisions, right? They take that before the Lord and they say, okay, refine this. So Melinda, I know you talked last session about the refiner's fire, right? This is another example of the refiner's fire, because sometimes we get so attached to our words. We're like, these words are perfect. And then you get feedback from a judge that says, kind of not. So just kidding. So it is helpful to have lots of feedback. Chris asks a great question here. Would you say that club is a necessary step for success in NCFCA? Melinda, why don't you field that one?
Well, so here, maybe this is an analogy. Let's say you're going to travel to a foreign country where you don't speak the language, you don't have the correct money, but it's an awesome place. And your first time, and you can go there and you can probably have a really good time. And you can wander around a little bit and probably see some things. But if you go with a guide, and they're going to say, look, here's the thing, or they're going to translate, or they're going to get the money for you, or don't eat that, do eat this. So I think clubs are a little like that. If you don't have a local club, you can do it at home and you can do great. And there's a lot of support nationally.
Yes.
Even people, maybe they're in your region, but not in your area, they'll support you. So if that is your option, do it. But if there's a club near you, they will be those tour guides. They will hold your hand. They will interpret, like Carly said, we've got some lingo around. They'll interpret that for you, and just walk with you through the process until you're ready to walk others through the process. So it's such a benefit to be part of a club. And so maybe that analogy is sort of helpful.
That's great. Carly, you've done it both ways, right? And your son has been very successful both ways. So tell me why you would point someone toward a club and why there are some situations where you would choose not to be part of a club.
Well, I think if there is a club available that you can make fit into your schedule, that is the best option. The times we've had club, obviously you have that community. It's better. It's my preferred method. However, if that's not available to you, it's definitely worth doing the activity without a club. Or as Amy Joy said, you could start a club, and a club really could be 2 families. It does not have to be, you don't have to recruit 10 of your friends. It can be small. We're a very small club. And so it doesn't have to be large. But definitely, I would say the club experience adds to your kind of arsenal of, places you get feedback. When you're not part of a club, you're not getting that feedback like you are in a club. So I would say clubs are definitely worth it if you can make it work. If you can't, I would not discourage you from participating if that's not an option.
So just to clarify from the league's position, you can affiliate with NCFCA and be an independent family. We have hundreds of those across the country. So please, please, please don't let that be the reason that you don't participate. It is more fun. That's what I would say. All right. You can learn independently. Absolutely, you can. Many of you are homeschoolers, and I feel like you have threshed the field in front of you and plowed up the path that you're walking on. You're capable of doing that. It's just more fun. And I love having that collaboration for our young people. So if you have the opportunity, that is great. So this is Natasha asks, for a new club, are there mentors available for assistance with starting and participating in tournaments? Natasha, I love that question. Melinda, how do you all handle that in your region?
So we've had a couple of new clubs start. And basically, I'm thinking of one south of us, and we just became like sister clubs. And so they were developing a new club. We were a more established club. And so we had a lot of conversations at the beginning of the season. We're very glad to do that. And I think you would find that any local club would be glad to help you start. And then they came to our practice tournaments. They would come to club occasionally just to see how club kind of functioned. And so we had a great relationship sort of helping them get started, and they were ready to go out on their own. So if you would like to start a club, I think you could reach out to clubs in your state or your region who are close by, because you would end up at the same tournaments, and start asking questions. And I think you would find a mentor. I know you could also contact Amy Joy, and she would help connect you as well. And then another way is through the resources that NCFCA provides.
That's great. Carly, Region 6, you were the region director. How did you communicate with the club leaders, especially those new ones?
The club leaders have a monthly call that they participate in. So that just is a means for the regional directors, the RDs, to pass along information from the national level down to clubs. And so that is one way as a club that you could keep up on the latest information, and also just communication with your regional director. They are willing to answer any questions and help you in any way possible. So, I think there are definitely resources for you as a new club.
One of the resources that I love is called Launching Clubs and Classes. That is our free gift to you. If you would like to receive that, just send me an email and I will send it to you directly. Why I like this resource is because it gives you options. So it kind of tells you lots of different ways that you can structure your club, that you can have parental involvement in your club. Carly and I will attest to this. When we started, we knew nothing, absolutely nothing. So you can do this if you have a willing heart and you are willing to bring your 5 loaves and 2 fish. God can work in and through you to feed the multitude. And so reach out. We'll get you plugged in. Chris asks, how many hours would you say are typically put into an excellent speech?
That's a great question. So, like with other things, it depends somewhat on the student and their level of experience. So just to say, I think when we leave the national championship, like Amy Joy said, I told my kids, you're going to have your best ideas next week, because this is all you've been doing all week. So you have to write them down. So that's the beginning. And then we're spending our 4 hours in club every Friday, all fall, plus time at home. We consider this a class at our homeschool. And so you're putting a few hours in. And then when you start into the tournaments, like we've talked about, you get great feedback. And so you will then revisit that speech. Time has passed. You've learned something when you presented it. You learned something from your feedback. You're going to improve it all year long. And I think, again, the students are different in how they do that, but a great benefit of going to multiple tournaments is having time to improve it, present it again, improve it, present it again. So you're talking about a lot of hours. We have some limited preparation speeches. For example, impromptu, the students do not know the topic until they go into the room. So the way you prepare for that isn't writing speeches, but it's practicing impromptu speeches. You put yourself in that situation. So that's a little bit of a different training, but still putting a lot of hours. And like everything, what you put into it is often what you get back.
Also, just to go to interpretation speeches, that type of speech is bringing literature to life. And so students will read books and they're looking for kind of that special story, or maybe a theme or a message that they really want to share, and then a story that communicates that. And so those speeches are a little bit different because you're somewhat preparing for those every time you read a book. So I have a daughter who loves to read. She's been reading since she was very, very young. And she is constantly, she'll put down a book and she'll say, that's a possible speech. And then she goes on to read the next book. And 5 books later, she'll go, that's a possible speech. So it's hard to quantify that. But I love this as a part of my my family and the upbringing of our children. It increases their, I am not a reader by nature unless it's a scientific journal. And so I love that my kids are reading books with that in mind. Like, what is the message that this story communicates and how could I bring it to life for an audience? So there's a little different flavor for different types of students. We have multiple speech events, but they're all in 3 categories. So platform speeches are typically what you think of when you have 10 minutes to present on a topic and you've done some research and you've organized that research and now you've put it together into a speech. Interps are bringing literature to life. So that's when you read a book and you cut a certain portion of it, because obviously you have 10 minutes. So you are not acting out all of Romeo and Juliet. That would take too long. So you have to cut it. So maybe they're doing a scene or a couple of scenes from that play. And then finally, we have the limited prep, as Melinda mentioned, and there are 3 different types of those. Impromptu could be on any topic, maybe a phrase or an idea. Extemporaneous is on current events in the news, and apologetics is on matters of the Christian faith. All of those students can prepare ahead of time, but you're not writing out your speeches. You're gathering ideas. And so in classical terms, we call this the idea of memoria. What are you committing to memory? What are you putting in your vault of great analogies and examples and stories that you can use then to feed into any opportunity? Maybe that opportunity is going to come in an NCFCA tournament, but maybe it's going to come in an elevator and somebody turns to you and asks you a question and you pull out a really great idea. So I love that it is feeding into our children this idea of store up for yourself treasures in heaven that moth and rust will not destroy and that thieves cannot break in and steal. Corrie ten Boom, and I will not get it word for word, but she has a quote that basically says, they can't take from me that which I've hidden in my heart. So whether we're talking about scripture, which I'm absolutely talking about, right? Hide scripture in your heart. But also I do believe that God speaks through his word and his world. And so looking for those examples, Jesus did this all the time when he told parables and stories. So Chris, the basic answer to your question is a lot of hours, a lot of discussions, a lot of opportunities for you to disciple, be discipled, get feedback, understand issues from both sides, and it develops something in our kids for sure.
And I'll just add, Ben, my son is a movie lover. So after we watch movies or he watches a movie, he'll say, can you watch this movie with me? We'll have discussions about what did they do well in that movie? What could they have done differently? What is a quote that I want to remember from them? So it's not just books. It's just wherever they're always thinking about what they can take from things, whether it's for a speech or just for life.
That's great. Our good friend Del Cook from Worldview Academy was talking about one of their activities at Worldview Academy camp is to watch a movie with the students and then train them how to break down the worldview. And he apologizes to parents. He says, I will ruin movie night for you forever, because never again will you ever be able to just watch a movie. These kids will be analyzing it. So yeah, I love that. I love that aspect. Well, I do want to just open it up to all of you. If you have questions, please, we would love to answer them. So feel free to type those in the chat box, or if you are super bold and brave and you would like to join us on screen, we'd love to get to know you. I want to talk a little bit about impact. So Melinda, I know you have lots of children in different ages and stages. What encouragement would you give to a family that's juggling lots of different needs and trying to evaluate whether NCFCA would work for their family?
Right. So I have from 17 to a 4-year-old. I have 4 kids, 17 to 4. And so there's a lot of different needs that need to be met, as you all know. So for us, again, what I said earlier, I guess I'll emphasize that it's family friendly. Because if it's something just for teenagers, we can't do it. And if it's something that's just for babies, we can't do that because there's a lot of us. So that's been a great impact. And I think we've been talking a lot about clubs, and Amy Joy mentioned this a little bit, that at club, all the club members have different gifts. So some are administrators, some are excellent coaches, and some like to hang out with the littles. So when you
Praise
get there,
God for those people.
I know, they're like, I got the baby. I'm like, oh, great. So if you're, that's one benefit of a club is we're using our gifts, but we're also helping each other.
Yes.
I've mentioned a couple times, way out in the country, not a lot of kids, and we homeschool. So we're getting a lot of our needs met through club with these dear, like-minded friends. And so it's something that all the kids can come to, all the kids enjoy. The 17-year-old has dear friends, the 4-year-old has dear friends, just a tremendous impact. And some of what Carly was saying, so we look at everything differently. Everything is a potential speech topic, everything's a potential topic for discussion, everything's a connection to something else. I'm an English teacher by profession. And so that's sort of how you're taught to teach there, but to give it to your kids where it's coming from different people besides you is wonderful. And then you're having these shared experiences. I said to the kids recently, we went to 3 in-person tournaments this spring. We got in a car for 6 hours. We listened to music and we talked and we prayed and we went. And then we had this experience. Sometimes the car ride home was a little difficult because everyone had not had the same level of whatever, but we worked through that together. And I thought, you don't get this, kids. We would put you on a bus or we're sitting at home, but this gives us this wonderful shared experience and these memories of this intense time together. So big impact on our family, just a real joy. And my husband always jokes, I'm like, well, the kids really want to go to the tournament. He's like, do you mean you really want to go to the tournament? I was like, yeah, them and me. So it's been great.
Carly, you and I have traveled together for a lot of years. So friends, this is the end of an era for us. Carly is graduating. Her youngest son has graduated, and this is her very last NCFCA tournament. So we have so many fun shared experiences together and so many interesting car rides. We used to be those crazy people that would leave after awards and drive 5 hours home at night in the middle of the night. And you would think, right, that all of our children would be sleeping. No, they'd be breaking down round 4 LD debate and why this argument should have been persuasive. So we have lots of fun memories. But Carly, I know that you have a heart for parents and educators. So talk to them, share your heart of what you would say to those people who are just getting started.
Well, you know, this is my heart right now. And I know as a homeschool parent, you spend years doing the best you can, taking it to the Lord, praying over everything, and wondering if you're ruining your children. And so I just want to speak to every homeschool parent and just say that if God has called you to homeschool your children, he will equip you. And there is not one among you who cannot do what he's asked you to do. You are capable, and if you come with a willing heart and give what you have, God will fill in the rest. And, you know, like I said, you go through this whole process, and I'm not saying that my kids have arrived, although I did graduate my last one just recently. And there are a lot of changes going on in my life right now where I think God is taking who I thought I was, and he's saying, well, you're not that, you're my child. That's who you are. And so I just want to encourage everyone to just keep walking. It is not always easy. I was thinking back to homeschooling. I remember one day when everything seemed to be falling apart in my house, and I had this radio that there used to be these CD players that would hook underneath your cabinets, and I had one in my kitchen. And I remember like the whole house was falling apart, and I felt like, I don't know, there was this song that I love, and I can't find it now, but it was called Praise the King. And it was just all about like, praise him in the morning, praise him all the time. And I turned that up. I stuck my ear to the cabinet and all the chaos going around me, and I just sobbed and sobbed. But I was praising the King because I was like, I can't, like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know if this is right. I can't do this. And it's just one of those moments where you're like, and God says, okay, now take the next step. Like, yep, you can't do it. congratulations, you figured it out again, right? But I can do it through you. And so I just want to encourage you guys to keep walking, keep doing what he's asked you to do. If he asked you to homeschool your children, he will equip you, and keep praying. And I promise you it will be okay, and that he will fill in all those areas that you can't.
Fantastic. That's great. Carly has been a tremendous encouragement to me over the years, always pointing me back to this idea that if God calls you to do something, he will equip you for that calling. So you can trust and rest in that. Natasha asks a great question here. We are Christian classical homeschoolers. However, as a friend of mine and I send out feelers for preliminary meeting dates for our club, we have a few responses from secular homeschoolers and those of different faiths. How do clubs handle that? I am going to just talk to you from a league perspective first, and then Melinda and Carly, I'll let you talk from the club perspective. So NCFCA as an organization is unapologetically Christian. We are training Christian ambassadors. That's our mission. It's who we are. So as part of that, in order to affiliate with our league, we do ask you to agree with our statement of faith and our statement of positions. And you can find those things on our website. And so as a result, most of the folks who are going to be forming local clubs and participating in the NCFCA are also going to be Christian. That is up to local clubs to decide. So Melinda, talk to me a little bit about how your club handles that.
Yeah, it's actually something that we do walk through each year. And what we'll do is, because sometimes you have a lot of your families will come through connections. They know someone who's in your club and they maybe go to church together, or they're in a co-op and they are on board. But sometimes you'll have people who've discovered it as a great activity. And if we don't know people as well, we actually have printed off the NCFCA materials, the statement of faith, the statement of position, and we will just meet with them and say, we need you to be able to sign off on this. So read it carefully. Maybe you need to discuss it with your family. Maybe you just need to discuss it with other leaders or influences in your life, and make sure that you can sign off on it. And it's very important if you join your league that you agree with these things, because join the league, because this is foundational. It's fundamental to everything that we're doing, from the way we run things, the way we handle issues, the speeches that we allow to be presented. It's very, very, the way we judge. And so we have walked that through with some families, and some have said, this is not for us. And we said, we wish you well. And then others have said, yes, I feel comfortable with this, and I'm able to sign it in good faith. And then we've gone forward. So we just try to be very winsome and very upfront, because you don't want it to come into a problem months later when someone brings a certain speech and you said, I didn't know. So we do try to address it as we meet people.
Great. Carly, any thoughts?
No, I agree. I think that that's where you start, is with NCFCA's positions, and make sure that anyone who would be joining you could also agree with those things, because that is who we are. That is what's going to be presented. And you don't want to surprise them, or, have it be something they don't understand. I think what Melinda said, be winsome, but be upfront and just say, this is who we are unapologetically. And if you can join us, we would love that. And if you can't, like she said, we wish you well. So
absolutely. Keep in mind too, that we are helping to give input and feedback. And I never want a student to be in a place where I am trying to pour in a biblical worldview, and that's conflicting with what mom and dad are telling them at home. So I never want to undermine a parent's authority in the life of their child. And so I like to be upfront about those things, because as Carly said, it's not kind to get 7 months into a club or a relationship with a family and then have them feel like you're attacking their beliefs. So first of all, we're not attacking their beliefs. We're just stating ours. And so be upfront about those things. Most clubs have some type of a handbook that they've put together. Again, we can help you with that with our launching clubs and classes. And that is material that you can hand out when you're expressing who you are. There are other great speech and debate leagues that are not Christian. So don't be afraid to point people to them to that if that's a better fit for them, but understand we are who we are, and we are super excited about our mission, which is to challenge and equip ambassadors for Christ. That's our ultimate purpose. It's why we exist. If you have any last questions, I don't want to miss any in the audience there. Let's conclude, ladies, with some next steps. So from this point, this competition season ends tonight after the Showcase of Excellence. And we know that in the next month, we're going to be opening affiliation. So talk to me about affiliation and why your family affiliates with the NCFCA.
So I'll go. So affiliation is basically, it means a family membership. It doesn't cost very much. Any of you have done any activities, and especially if you have the early bird, and it's for your whole family, it's not per student. So you pay the one fee, and then as an affiliate, you get all the rights and privileges. So you have access to additional resources that the public doesn't. You're able to compete in tournaments. It gives you that. And then you get all the communication from the league, which is very helpful in navigating. So I would encourage you to affiliate. And then the next step would be to find or start a club or to gather around the table using the resources that we've mentioned. We've got these summer intensives, which is our jumping off point as far as our education and training. And we have our guides, our printed materials, which are very helpful. And then we'll have different webinars, like we said, and stepping stones throughout the fall to help you even more. And that propels you right into tournament season.
Fantastic. So I do want to go back. I see that I missed a question here. So yes, we do have a calendar year. Our calendar year runs from July to June. So July to December is our training and education season. It's when we do all of our preparing. And that happens both in the context of your family and also in the context of local clubs. Our competition season runs from January until June. So our regional qualifiers typically take place from January till April. We have our regional championship in April, maybe the first part of May, depending on how that scheduling works out. And then we have our national championship in June. The national championship is already planned. And I'm not sure that we did this justice, ladies, because the national championship is not just the culminating event for NCFCA. It's like a combination tournament and vacation all wrapped into one. So we have these amazing fun people. I'm just going to point out that none of us are those people, but we have these amazing fun people who plan these outstanding events. So one year we did this scavenger hunt with photos. It was phenomenal and we had a blast. So my family, even the kids who don't break, want to go to nationals. They want to be there because it is just a really fun time of community and fellowship. So mark that on your calendars. That's already planned. We are going to be back at one of our favorite places, the University of Northwestern in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's a great, great activity. Carly, any other first steps that you would give for families here today?
I don't think so. I think Melinda summed it up really well. The affiliation does get more expensive the longer that you wait. So the sooner that you affiliate, the less you will pay to do that. So just one other note about affiliation.
Fantastic. Well, I do want to thank all of you so much for coming today. It is our pleasure to spend this time with you. If you have any questions following the summit, please reach out to me at amyjoytofty@ncfca.org. I will be happy to answer your questions or direct you to the right folks to get those answers. We love students, and it is our heart for students to know who they are, what they believe, why they believe it, and then be able to communicate that truth in a winsome and gracious way to the world. We are not here creating politicians. Maybe they will become politicians, but what we are really striving for is to challenge and equip ambassadors for Christ, people who can go out into this world and influence all of their different spheres for the glory of God. So thank you for joining us, Natasha. I look forward to hearing from you. I am so excited for you to get involved in NCFCA and to let your adventure begin. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you back next year at the summit. Take care now.